Hey everyone, this is Michelle with Lotus Rising and Maria.
Hi.
And hi, our topic today is living in the moment and the importance of living in the moment and what that is. So I got this idea after something my husband said, and I'm not going to go into detail because it's a long story, but it got me thinking about the importance of this and my tendencies. This is kind of a new topic for me to apply to myself. I have realized lately that I tend to live in the past, and my husband lives in the future, so we have two different views to compare and stuff. And what that does to you every day when you live in the past, live in the future, and you're not living in the present. And I gathered with me living in the past all the time, of course, it's like a everybody says this and you miss the present, this and that, but it's true. It's very true. And you do miss the present. And I started thinking like you started to get in this really I started to get like in this really weird like time warp kind of mentality where I was thinking about my son he's going to be 3 tomorrow actually. And going back over the times that since he's been born and all this stuff and how I wish I could go back and relive those moments and this and that, and he was so little and this and that, and thinking, well, next year when I look back at this, he's going to be so little, like I'm going to be thinking he's so little, and I'm wasting all this time missing him being this little by thinking about him being little last year. And so I started getting like on this weird weird mind thing. So that's what started me thinking. And Maria, I'm going to pass it to you to start sharing
Huh?
what you think a little bit on this.
Yeah.
Um,
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I I definitely agree with living in the moment. Even on the spirituality topic, of our channel, if you think about it, when you live in the past or the future, you're in the past, you're reminiscing. Therefore, your soul or your spirit, it's reminiscing. It might be looking in the past with joy or sadness. The future tendency is to want things, what we want, our expectations, what we hope for, our fears, our worries. The present is the present, and both, well, then at that point, so not only do you emotionally have a reaction if you're living in the past or the future, but you're also missing out on the present, which means you're not necessarily feeling every moment that you're experiencing during that day. And one of the speakers that I've come across that comes to mind on the topic is Eckhart Tolle. And I remember one of the videos I watched where he was sharing with a viewer who had asked a question or he was sharing some advice, and one of it was to live in the present, to not allow yourself to go into worry or panic for past or future or what to be. And the example that actually not shocked me, but the example that stayed in my mind was he said, for example, let's say you're washing your hands, to appreciate that moment. And as you're washing your hands, to feel that water, to feel you rubbing your hands, and to actually just be in it for that moment. So the same thing throughout your day. Let's say you're working and you start thinking about something from the past. You're not really living that moment of what you're doing. Or as Michelle said, with thinking about her son from last year to this year. It's not that I'm saying you shouldn't ever think about it, of course, but to think about it too much will make you not really live the moment you're living and experiencing in that moment. Michelle, you have something to add?
yeah, I was, when I started thinking about this and my husband, we were talking about it, it started to, I started to remember this thing I used to do when I was little. And I'm going to try to get it, you do it now too, Maria, and if, whoever's watching can try it. I used to do this all the time when I was little, and it used to make me, I don't know why or how I started doing this, but it used to make me feel really weird, but
Mm-hmm.
also in a good way. I used to sit there and think that, okay, I used to tell myself, like, I'm really here. I'm really here right now. And I would, like, look
Mm-hmm.
at something, like, the next thing I do, like I have total control over it. And I would start like telling myself, like, you're really here. This is not a memory. You're not thinking. You're not thinking in the future that you're going to do something, and you're not like thinking at this in the past. This is real. Like this is you're really here right now. Like the next thing you do is totally up to you. And the more I started thinking about that, like the weirder things got around me. It was like this weird, like I'm telling you, it's like this weird, like time warp thing. And, and every time I tell people about it, they're like, "You're crazy. This is really weird. I'm not doing that." But try it. Like really sit there and be like, "Okay, I'm really here in this moment. I'm sitting in this chair. The light's over here. This is over here." And I don't know why I started doing this when I was little. It was something I've always done. And I think it was a way of centering myself and grounding myself and bringing myself to the present moment and not really realizing what exactly I was doing or why.
Yeah.
But I still do that. And for me, it really does bring me to the present. I really start concentrating on the present. But then it starts to get really trippy because I'm like, okay, when I started this, that was in the past. When I started thinking this a second ago. So if you start to like really overthink it, it starts to get really weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes,
like,
yes, it does.
You could get down to like the millisecond, like 1 second's the future and 1 second's the past. So it's really like you're never in any of those places anyway. If you really think about it, you know, you're never really in the future. You're never really in the past because it's depending on how you're measuring it. If you're measuring it by the seconds, where are you? You're nowhere. You know, so like there's no point in thinking about it. There's no point in even projecting too far into the future and worrying. And there's no point in like, you know, it's nice to reminisce and it's nice to look back fondly at things. But there's no point in looking back with longing, like, oh, I wish I had done that. I wish I had done this. You know what I mean? It just gets really weird. So these are the kind of things I was thinking about. And like you said with the hand washing and stuff, there's this Jason Mraz, he's a singer, and there is a thing he did called, if you type in YouTube, like can you hear the bird singing? It's a really great. It's a poem he wrote, and it's really great. And he's talking about he went into these mountains somewhere, and he met with these Zen masters, and they were telling him, you know, how do you drink your tea, and you know, are you the type that guzzles it down, or are you the type that drinks it slowly and really savors you taste the tea in your mouth, or you just like, you know, you just drink it down and get rid of it? And that's a good way to approach life. Like that's like you were saying with the hand washing, like that's one way of living in the moment. Like slow down. If you're eating something, slow down and like really take time to taste it, take time to experience it, take time to feel everything that goes along with that, and that you put that in every single moment. And with the thing I was telling you about with what I would do when I was little about saying, I'm really here, like I'm sitting in this chair, what does that feel like? And you really take the time to really experience what that feels like, then you can start to, I think from there, really appreciate what you're living in that moment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Not rambling too much?
No, not rambling at all. It makes sense. No, I'm actually thinking that yes, it's very important. The in the moment thing, it's more than just living the moment. It actually allows you to be grateful for, you know, for your life and these little things that we can do, like you pointed out with the Jason Mraz song, drinking your tea. It's true. How, you know, take notice. How do you drink your tea? How do you eat your food? Like, are you, you know, quickly eating, or are you quickly drinking? Are you actually tasting that coffee? And some people, or many people maybe, life gets in the way. You know, we have this routine, we have to work, we have chores, and it becomes, besides whether you're living in the past or the future, or if you're not, even as you're living the present, maybe you're really robotic. What does that do to you inside? I mean, really, are you really feeling anything? Are you really savoring that piece of fruit that you're eating at that time? You know, so there's also the example you gave of when you were a child is very it's being very aware of the moment, actually. Obviously, we can't do that all the time, but we could learn to do it at the same time. If while I'm talking in this show, if I'm living it in the moment, I feel all these emotions of, I'm speaking and our viewers are watching, and it's like, wow, I actually feel a different feeling than if I'm just mechanically doing it without actually trying to feel it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. I'm feeling it right now as I'm doing it. Of course, it has to start somewhere, which is hopefully that this YouTube video maybe will allow you to become aware of it and actually try to find your own way to live in that moment and to break away from the living in the past or the future, simply because both of those definitely take away from being grateful of what you are living in the moment. It takes away from living that moment. Even if you're not thinking about it while you're living it, the fact that you prefer or tend to think in the past or the future, it's more of a concern. Your spirit, your soul, or whatever you want to call it, inside of you, there are concerns for you, which is why you're not here. You're thinking whether it's because you missed something from the past or you're being worried about the future. And
Right.
It's a pity. It's a pity for your life not to experience that moment, but your soul also has an effect, your energy, the vibration. If it's sad, it'll lower. And if you're happy, well, if you're thinking of it happily, but because it's gone, it's not going to be as high as, let's say, if you're going to relive it again and actually experience it as you're living it. There's just a difference. Go ahead, Michelle. You have.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about, this whole idea of past and present, it's time, and we've all been told, that time is not real. Time is something that was man created, and so I believe that time is not real. And it's really hard for our human mind to grasp. But this whole idea of past and present is time, so therefore it's not even really real. All those things you've experienced in the past are still with you now, and all those things that you're going to experience in the future, you are with you now also, if you think along these lines. And I've heard somewhere that anything that's ever going to happen, it's already existing somewhere out there in the universe. And anything that's ever happened in the past is existing somewhere out there in the universe also. So for me, if I want to experience, if there's like a really positive time in my life that I want to experience just to savor that moment again, I like to try to find things that trigger that memory. Maybe it's a smell, a picture, the taste, and so it's almost as if you can experience it all over again because it's still existing out there somewhere.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And wherever that's existing, it's in your mind. Who knows where exactly physically it's existing, but it's still there. So there's what I'm trying to say. There's no point in being sad about the past, because it's if there's something you wanted to experience that you didn't. It's something you experience that you want to experience again, you can still experience it again. And in the future, I think it's the same way. Excuse my son.
Yeah.
We're living in the moment today.
Yes, we are.
We don't even. But do you understand what I'm saying, Maria? Does that make sense?
Yes. No. It makes. It actually does make sense. I agree with the whole time is. Well, we are in human form. We are in this physical body. So on this plane, definitely time has been constructed. But I agree, it's an illusion. And anything in the past stays with you. Therefore, it is, whether it's present in another universe or it isn't, it stays with you. That feeling, that lesson, it stays with you. But to reminisce and stay in that moment is what then makes you miss out on these present moments. It's just the future, and on the other hand, like you said, it's going to come. Right now, our future is coming in another minute,
Right.
But to worry yourself about it just takes you away from today, from this second, from this breath that you're taking, from this experience. And it's good to have it's good to balance it out. Everybody thinks a little bit about their future because of planning. But there's, one thing about, trying to figure out where you want to go versus really, really like thinking about what can come and going overboard. The same thing with the past. The past is a little bit worse in a sense. Well, not worse. They both, to me, have a different, past is I think it's when you miss your past and you want to repeat it. And that's even a bit, not sadder, but I feel like it's a longing for something that, one, if you want to repeat it, go ahead. You have your future, you have your present. But two, it's something that you should be happy that you felt and experienced. It's not something that ever left you, like you said. And then there's the whole thing about time, illusion. So, I mean, it's still there with you. Don't miss it, stay in today, and it's part of you right now as you're listening to us. It's part of all of us. So, yeah, makes sense, Michelle.
Yeah, and I tend to think, for me anyway, I don't want to overgeneralize, but for me anyway, when I think about the past, it's usually a longing of wanting to redo certain things in my life that I enjoyed, wanting to experience that again. And in the future, when I think about the future, a lot of times it is more based in fear. What is the future going to bring? That's when I find myself focusing on the future, is worry. Yeah. And I've heard that worry before. Worry is just you trying to control something that you really don't have control over just yet. Mm-hmm. So the whole point in like what we're saying right now is there is no point to long for the past, long for things for the past, or worry about the future. Yeah. There's no need for it. And by doing either one of those things, you are not experiencing your present, and think about how quickly this present moment becomes the past. Yeah. And this present moment could very quickly become something that you're longing for, that you didn't do something that you wanted to do because you were too worried thinking about the future, too sad thinking about the past. Mm-hmm. And this present moment is so fleeting that it's gone. It's gone before you know it, and it becomes a part of the past. It becomes a part of that category. And so this has been a lesson for me that over the past couple months. It's something that I haven't really toyed with a lot, worked on a lot. It wasn't something that I really thought I had an issue with, but I do. I tend to really live thinking about the past a lot and being sad and reminiscing and happy sad, like wanting to experience happy things that I did. Like, oh, that was so great. I want to do that again. I wish I could do that over and over and over again, like the past 3 years with my son. Like, oh, I wish I could live the past 3 years over again. It was so great. And I think about it and I get sad about it. Meanwhile, like, he's watching TV and I'm sitting here being sad about, thinking about how fast these 3 years went. And like, here we're just wasting time. He's watching TV and I'm sitting on the couch being sad. It's so stupid. Yeah.
Well, and the part you mentioned about control, actually, that's interesting, because if you think about it, the one thing that we do have control of is the present moment. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's the only thing.
Yeah, exactly. So living in the past, it's already gone. You made your decisions, you made your choices. Living in the future, it hasn't come yet. The only thing you can, work on is that present moment. So not only living in the moment allows you to hopefully be filled with joy and filled with that moment, but that is also the moment where you can make the changes that you want to see, whether it's in the future or repeat from the past, even though obviously at the same time letting go is important too, in the sense that sometimes things from the past cannot be repeated in the future because circumstances change. But definitely the one thing you can do in the present moment is to try and make things happen that you would like to see, and living every moment as such without spending too much time thinking about the past or the future. Maybe have a glimpse of it. Okay, I want to repeat it. Become active. At least become proactive. This way you can live in that moment and you can re-experience or try to regain whatever it is you wanted from the past or the future. Yes, at least be proactive, I would say, because reminiscing or worrying, yeah, definitely, there's really no you're missing out on the moment, and you're not changing anything for your future either. So you're actually missing out on two things by just living in your mind with the fact, whether it's the past or the future. If it's an extensive amount of time, we're not saying, talking with a friend and sharing a moment. Like, last year I did this. We're talking like people that spend. There are people that reminisce a lot. You hear it in their conversations. They'll always talk about their past, or they'll always talk about their future, and you can tell they miss it or they're worried about it. So,
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm sorry. Were you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Like as you were speaking, I was thinking about there's nothing wrong with looking back on your past with fondness and oh, that was a great time, and like having memories. The thing that you want to be aware of is if that's making you sad enough because you missed something, that it's taking away from you experiencing the present moment, which was the example I gave you with my son. Like I'm wasting time with my son, the present time, thinking about all the good times we had in the past and how I want to do it over again. Meanwhile, I'm wasting time thinking about it. And something else I did when I was younger, a teenager, that I didn't really realize the significance of what I was doing, but it's actually a really good technique to do, and I like to do it now a lot. And I don't know why I started doing this, but when I was about 16, my grandmother passed away, and I loved her house. She had this great, I just loved her house. It was like the classic grandmother house. I loved going there. There was always cookies, and it was just a great house. And I never wanted to forget details of this house. And as we started to clean out her house and stuff, I really took note of everything in this house. So what I would do while the memory was fresh in my head, I would, every night when I was going to sleep, I'd walk myself through the house. I'd walk in the front door. I would smell what her house smelled like. I'd look to the left. What I see on the left, like, oh, her decorations, what I see on the right. I walk through each room, and I'd take a mental note. And I did that every night. And now it's been over 15 years since she's passed away, and I can still remember every single detail of her house, and I'm happy about it because anytime I want to experience her and her house again, I have that in my head. It's stored in my head forever. Yeah. Because I did that every night for a while after she passed away, it's burned in my brain, and I will never forget her house. So anytime I want to experience her house, I don't have to be sad that it's gone now and it's disassembled and, family members have all her things. It's always exactly the same way in my head that it was the day she passed away. It's there forever, and I always have that. Yeah. So I think that's a great thing to do, to really like, oh, this is something, if you're experiencing something, you're living in the present. I was living in the present then. I knew that this was something that I loved and I cherished, and I was proactive about storing it in my head so I wouldn't be sad about it. And so I remembered, I went in her house. I knew I was going to do this. I went in the house. I smelled, what does it smell like? How does that make me feel? What's this way? What's the carpet feel like? What's this feel like? And that's living in the present. And if you do that every day, or as often as possible, you always have that with you. So there's no point in being sad about the past.
Yeah.
Maria?
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. That actually, yes, I have a very bad memory, but I definitely try to live every moment. And usually, for me, what stays are the feelings. When I'm living every moment through my feelings, whether it's a dream, or an experience, I might not remember the details, but the feeling stays with me forever. So, living in the moment, very important to do, because really we don't want to. From what we know, there's one life. Or anyways, right now, this is the present. You're watching this. We're talking. Live it, enjoy it, absorb it, and just remember it. Because that's how it can stay with you forever, is if you live in the moment. So we were going to wrap it up for today. Michelle, do you have anything else to add? Yes. So please let us know. Let us know how you live in the moment. Do you have any tips for viewers? Do you have any thoughts on those who do live in the past or the present or the future? and subscribe below. And if you have any questions, please let us know. If you'd like to be a guest speaker on our show, talk about the same topic or a new topic, leave comments, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Live in the moment.
Yes, live in the moment.